Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. The scenario is Failed Prospects. Our collaborators were Tyler Hudak, Morgan Llewellyn, Oscar Rios, Jason Melanchuk, Zane Fleming, and myself. I will be the keeper, and this is episode 3. Our recap will be given by David Gassaway as his character, Marcus Sundell. So without any further delay, let's continue our journey into the darkness. David?
Dear Diary, it's October 20th, 1923, and I'm going to have to go to sleep at some point, but it's very hard to even imagine falling asleep with the prospect that tomorrow I might be the first person to photograph a brand new species. If Dr. Baker and his colleagues are right about that, we don't know where they are exactly. They didn't come to pick us up on the train, even though the university telegrammed them when we'd arrive, but they're some ways out of town, and maybe a truck broke down or some such. I don't imagine the roads here are very well maintained. This is my first time in such a small town, and it seems very friendly, kind of funny. I don't know what the refrigeration system is, but all the food seems to be spoiled half the time. And I missed most of it, but apparently we have good reason to think that there are exciting prospects ahead. A couple of our crew went into Dr. Baker's room, and then they found what they think are 2 non-fossilized vertebrae of some species they can't name, and a weird black stone called a coprolite that's got exotic carvings on it that nobody can recognize. And that's just the stuff they left in the hotel room. Who knows what they've got at the live dig. We don't know exactly where they are. We have a rough map from Dr. Baker's room, and Matthew, the son of the hotelier, knows at least the first place they started digging, so he's going to take us there in the junky old truck we rented first thing in the morning. And hopefully by tomorrow night I'll have plates of an animal that nobody's ever seen before.
All right, excellent. So, unless anybody wants to do anything during the evening, we can skip ahead to breakfast. All right, we'll skip ahead to breakfast.
At the breakfast table, once everyone is obviously got their plates gathered together.
Well, having trouble getting the breakfast together. The bacon seems to be pretty much okay. The eggs seem to have spoiled. The bread seems to be okay, but so you're having basically toast and bacon.
As long as there's coffee and rolls, we can get on the road.
Coffee, yeah.
My! This spoilage just adds to my theory, gentlemen. If you'll bear with me for a few moments, I'm still very concerned of Dr. Baker's team, but I was tossing and turning last night, given everything that transpired late in the evening, and I've got a theory I want to propose to you, and hopefully with your help, you can debunk my theory. I guess that a naturally cold coprolite that Dr. Rathmore found is what got me thinking along the lines, but from what we know, Dr. Baker was digging at Site 3 where he found these items. And my theory is that in their dig, they uncovered a layer of glacial ice. And while excavating the ice, that's when they found this coprolite in the vertebrae. Now, the coprolite, I'm guessing it's got a frozen core, and that's what makes it colder as you hold on to the thing. As far as for the vertebrae, if they were indeed inside the glacial ice, they wouldn't have fossilized. And thus that explains why they're still bones and lightweight. Now, again, Dr. Rathmore found a map in Dr. Baker's room, and you've all had a chance to look at that map. And if you note on Site 3, besides Site 3, there was a note of a creek running by it. Now, I'm guessing that creek runs to the north up towards Site 3, but also south and probably southwest of town where Matthew did his fishing. So again, to press this on, I'm guessing with the glacial ice exposed and now melting, there's been some trapped microbial pathogens that are now freed. Water melt running into the creek, contaminating the creek, and that's how Marcus's fish got spoiled. Along the same time, wind is blown across the ice, carried the pathogens on air off to the nearby farmland where it's contaminated the grain and some of the livestock out there. So with that in mind, this is where I call upon Mr. Phillips to use your biology background and skills, pull out your microscope, hopefully no more than an hour, but maybe set up a lab in your room and start off with this copper light to examine it to see if indeed you find any of these pathogen spores on it. Mr. Zundel, if you'll do the recording of his research. I need somebody to go out into the back trash area, gather up the spoiled fish out of the trash bin and bring it to Mr. Phillips. If somebody could also go over to Jack's Diner, and if you can dig their trash to bring some of their spoiled food. I mean, heck, we've already got these eggs here that we're looking at, or at least heard about. But again, Byron, if you'll take the time to put those under the microscope and examine it. Meanwhile, I'm going to go to Mr. Perlman, and I'm going to insist that he let me back into Dr. Baker's room so that I can get those fossils. I'll write him a letter taking full responsibility, but that way I can bring those back to Mr. Phillips for examination. I do hope you guys can prove me wrong, but whatever questions, input that you have, please, it's open to your suggestion ideas.
Well, I would happily at least be of some use, so I don't mind doing whatever you need me to do, but who knows? I hope you're not right, but...
Don't we want to get on the road and see if we can find Dr. Baker as soon as we can? Or do we want to spend time here?
I gotta go with Dr. Coopersmith. We gotta get on the road. We gotta go there.
Let's get on the road.
But I'm saying we spend maybe an hour to do this research. I mean, you think of the implications of what is basically imposing on the town here with all of this spoilage going on. I would hate for the town to think that we put them on the map for the wrong reason. And this is a blight, poor choice of words, but a blight on the university if indeed we've caused it.
It's not something that would take more than 15 or 20 minutes to see if there's a bacteria or something present.
Okay.
We
can spend some time doing that. Phillips, right. If you need some of that nasty spoiled fish, I guess I'll go dig out of the dumpster for you.
Just give me whatever, and I'll work on it. Sleep, to be honest, having a good sleep, I realized that me suggesting that Baker could be dishonest, that was all baloney, man.
Byron would know that you wouldn't need much.
Yeah, then
All right, I'll go get a small section
and he has all of the equipment necessary. As I told you in the beginning, you guys have brought whatever equipment.
Good.
You guys would
all right.
Use.
Yeah, let's do a quick field lab and we'll get this up and have it researched. And so while Phillips is doing that, I'll make sure that the after I get the fish to him, I'll make sure that the vehicle is packed with all of our other gear, short of whatever it is that Byron needs to bring, and gas is topped off. Oh, and we wanted to have those extra jerry cans of gas, so we're going to take with us. And just have all that with us.
Yeah, I'll come with you to the general store and make sure we get the truck loaded up the way we wanted.
Yep.
Well, I'm gonna come
Yeah,
with you
why
because
not?
I wanna check out the actual truck. This truck is not that reliable, right? So we should
Yeah.
probably
I
stress test it or something.
I could
Yeah.
always do a little run over it. I have some mechanical skills. So.
Oh, good. Yeah. Let's give it a look. See.
Yeah, but first thing, let's get this test out of the way. And
Yeah.
I would say while you are over at Moz, do ask her where she gets her supplies. See if indeed they come from the farmlands to the north. But we do need to document Mr. Phillips' investigation.
I'll just do it as I go along. I'm used to doing my own recording, so.
And the weevils in the oatmeal can't be bacteria from the melted glacier. That's just weevils, but she's probably getting those from far off.
As long as I have some pen and paper, I can document it myself.
All right. So very quickly, you managed to get some samples of these various things. And Byron, when you're examining them, you do see bacteria, but the bacteria that you're seeing is what you would expect to see in rotting food.
Yeah.
You can identify which ones are causing it to sort of deliquesce. It's losing its adhesion, the various things. But these are all common bacteria that you would expect to see in any environment. You don't find any odd, creepy crawlies down on that level. You start to examine the coprolite. Now it is a little more tricky because you can't put it under your microscope. But you probably do have a field microscope, which you hold in your hand, you put up against something, and you can actually look. When you first start to look at it, you see kind of what you'd expect to see. There's a lot of matter that has been crystallized into what looks like mineral deposits. But there is also, you can see tiny bone fragments and things like that, which you would expect also to see from an animal that's, pooping out what's left of another animal. You can identify that whatever it is was carnivorous. It wasn't a vegisaur. And I'd like you to do an idea roll.
I've got 80 in intelligence, so I'm hoping. 95. That's a fail. Fuck.
Right.
Oh.
So other than the fact that you notice that rock still seems rather cold the longer you hold it. It's not what you wouldn't expect from a coprolite. Although, to be honest, you don't know as much about coprolites as the paleontologists might know.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. Well,
other than that, that's about all that you find. Are any of the paleontologists working with him or watching him, or?
I think they all went off to do their own stuff. But
Yeah.
I made notes for everything. But
I'm off to Mr. Penman.
Okay. All right. Well, jump ahead to you. You come to Mr. Penman. Professor Hall, what can I do for you this morning?
Good morning, Jonathan. I've been thinking more of this, having stepped into Dr. Baker's hotel room yesterday, and I must insist that you let me back into his room. I need to collect the bones that were on his desk. I've got a letter here for you that releases you of all responsibility, showing where I take full responsibility for having you let me into the room to get this item. But I'm concerned that I need to bring this back to Dr. Baker to show him some details about this that we uncovered.
Well, I've explained the policies, but you have a letter here. You university people know what you're doing. So I will comply. I mean, if Dr. Baker becomes upset about it, I'll have to put it on your head.
And that letter is your full proof to lay it on me. So yes, indeed. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, let me take you up there. And he, in fact, takes you up there, and you retrieve the bones.
And then I take
Which now,
down.
when you've got them in your hand, they're definitely lighter than what you expected.
Yeah. And in picking them up, thinking that they might have something on them, I'm basically handling them with my handkerchief.
Okay.
So that I'm no longer just skin contact.
Right. Okay.
And then I'll bring him down to Mr. Phillips.
All right. Phillips, do another biology roll.
Biology, yeah. 43 on 65 for biology.
There are still traces of marrow in the bone itself that you can find. It's almost like when you're looking through the microscope, everything's enlarged, but it almost looks like you're looking at pieces of dried meat that are attached to the bone itself, which should have, it's possible that they obviously desiccated. They lost all their moisture, but you would estimate that these bones are no more than 200 years old. These are not fossilized. You don't see any traces of mineral deposits. You see dirt that brushes away, but these are just like somebody dug up some old cow bones in the backyard that had been buried there for 100 years.
Very, very odd.
So, Tom, as a player at this time, the 1923, have there been bones found in glacial ice? We had the one hunter man found up in the Himalayas or something. I don't remember what time that was.
I don't actually know the answer to that, but I can guess that you wouldn't find dinosaur bones in glacial ice. The dinosaurs would have died out. The glaciers would have come and gone a dozen times since the dinosaurs.
Okay.
So
that's a fair item. I was just thinking that the glaciers having crept down this far on the tail end of the dinosaur realm, and that's how they got trapped in here.
Well, it's a good theory, and it's a theory that your character probably keeps.
Right. But what the reason why I'm asking the question, would Professor Hall, once Byron has mentioned that he's still seeing bone marrow and even meat clinging to the bone, would that give me reason to suspect anything else?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
Except that what he says is that they're only a couple of 100 years old. They might be well preserved, but there's no oxidation. There's not enough to qualify them as an old bone. They're still porous. They're still whatever it was could have been roaming around 200 years ago easily.
I can see the excitement from Dr. Phillips, or excuse me, Dr. Baker, for having discovered something like this out in the site. So, okay. I've got another idea, but I want to wait for Dr. Coopersmith to come in before I suggest it, Mr. Phillips.
This is very odd, Professor Hall. It's all a bit odd for me. Intriguing, though. Intriguingly odd.
Dr. Coopersmith, where are you? What are you doing?
We had gone, Marcus and Harold and I, Professor Rathmore and I, we had gone to the general store.
Okay. So you arrive at the general store, and you can see that Ma is in a bit of distress. She's telling a customer that they've ordered more produce, that there must be something going on, bad crops or something that's causing the shortage, but in a couple of days it should clear up and they should have fresh stuff from, I don't know, Sisseton or Fargo, and that she apologizes. But you can see she's upset, obviously.
Is everything okay? Clearly something's upsetting you.
Well, you've probably noticed by now that a lot of people are having trouble with spoiled food.
Yeah, it seems to be going around. It's at the diner, it's at the hotel,
and it's just some sort of a fluke. It's only happened in the last week or so that we've started to notice these things. We didn't even notice them at first, but must be something in the air, in the season, that's causing the problem.
Very strange. Is all your produce that's been afflicted, and eggs and things like that, are they all coming from a certain region, a local farming area, farms in a local area? Or is it coming from there? Is it coming from all over?
I get stuff from all over, but most of it is going to be coming out of I forget my states now. Whatever state is right next door, not North Dakota, but to this side.
Missouri, Wisconsin.
No, it's
no. Minnesota's next.
Minnesota.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Well, that is very odd. All right. So it's not. Yeah. Okay. Wow, that's really weird. Yeah. Well, we're here to kind of and that we had reserved, pick those up. The gas.
We've got all that.
Maybe also a kit of tools just in case this truck is not as reliable as we'd like it to be. So want to be prepared.
All right. Well, she puts that together for you, and she puts together some items that don't seem to be rotting, so that you have snacks and stuff on the way. And
let's get a tire pump too. Maybe they have flat tires, and that's why they didn't come for us. Look up the gasoline. We can't bring a whole engine, but if it's just a tire patching kit.
All right. All of that stuff's okay. So you finish there and you head on back over. Well, I assume you're heading on back over to the hotel.
Yeah, and I think Rathmore wanted to have a look-see at the vehicle.
At the vehicle?
Yep. Start it up. Stress test it a little bit.
It's a good old 1910 Mack truck. They're pretty well built, but the winters can be pretty harsh in this area, and so it's pretty rusty. You can tell that the paint job is pretty bad. It's the engine is simple enough to where anybody can repair it if they know something about cars. And you can see that it's been worked on by Harold. It's not his first name though. Simon Harold. But I mean, what do you know about engines? Do you have mechanical?
No, I don't. If someone else has mechanical, I mean, it looks good to me, guys, but
I've got a 30 in mechanical repair, so I can at least scratch my head and look under the hood. 1910 is early, so you're right. It's like Flintstonian simplicity.
Probably the same brake system.
If not now, then after we've gone up and down the hills, yeah.
All right. So, okay. Yeah, let's go collect everybody and
how many can fit in the cab?
Probably 4 people. Maybe 5 if you cram somebody in the middle.
Well, Matthew's little.
Yeah, Matthew's little.
And he kind of needs to be in the cab to direct.
And let's also point out that so far out, if you're looking at the map that you got, Site 3 is what, 14 miles, 14 or 15 miles. If you had to walk it, it's an awful walk, but you're not that far from civilization.
If you count West Haven as civilization.
If it broke,
yeah. It's a few hours if you walk. So
also hilly. So, but yeah, nobody's going to die because of it.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a little time to strap my equipment down as securely as I can, because glass and things in a rattly old truck on back roads or no roads.
All right.
But I imagine sacks of oats and things make good padding.
You guys get everything secured. Byron and Dr. Hall fill you in on their very interesting discovery.
So odd.
Is there any chance that a Native American had an alligator pet that came? I know they traded between nations. It seems like if you're sure it's and it's this far north but that old.
Dr. Coopersmith and Dr. Hall, you can both do paleontology rolls.
Sure.
I just want to know more now. It's intriguing.
Well, an extreme success.
Yeah. You've examined many. There's alligator species go way back into the dinosaurs. You've examined many bones. None of them look like this.
Very strange. Yes.
This was an upright walking thing, not a.
Yeah, this is it's also not a fossil. It can't be a dinosaur, but it's very strange. I'm sure we'll find the answer out there in the hills. So let's get out there and see if we can catch up to Dr. Baker. So the plan, I believe, is to drive through the previous dig sites, since there should be a trail blazed through that way.
They're pretty much in a line anyway.
And I'm gonna, before we take off, I'm gonna grab my archaeology bag and I'm gonna say something to the effect of pulling out my revolver, saying like, what kind of cautious guy I am. And then have it all with me.
What the?
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, Dr. Coopersmith, before we do pack up here, I've got one more item to ask of you. Mr. Phillips said that he didn't find much on the exterior of the coprolite. Again, this is Dr. Baker's find, but what do you think of possibly cracking it open to let Mr. Phillips examine the interior of the thing? I don't know how pissed off Dr. Baker is going to be, or at least something to do once we see him and ask his permission.
Yeah, let's bring it with us. I don't want to do it without his permission. It is his find.
Very well.
All right. So I'll drive. I'm happy to drive.
Well, I can as well, but if you really want me to.
I don't mean to be the old fart of the group, but again, with my healing leg, I think it best for me to take a little bit of comfort inside this cab.
Sure. Why don't we just sit 3 across in the cab? So Professor Hall, Marcus, and myself in the cab, and then everybody else can ride in the back with the gear.
You have to take the kid too.
Yeah. I said Marcus. I didn't mean Marcus. I meant Matthew.
Okay.
We're gonna throw Marcus in the back.
And if I need to, if we need to have a look at it, me or Marcus can.
Well, riding in the back of trucks is something everybody did back then.
Exactly.
We did that in the 70s.
Exactly.
All right. So you head you head up the road just a little ways, and Matthew points out like a rather large rock, and he says, "This is where you turn," and you end up heading north. And you can see immediately that you're heading towards the ridge, and behind the ridge, the other is a butte, and he says that's Red Butte, and and they were right near the bottom of the cliff where Red Butte is. So we just keep going, and he's like, and there's that tree, and there's that tree over there that I recognize, and there's that over there. And you end up coming down a little ways, and you come up to a place where there is pretty much a cliff going up to the ridge. The ridge itself is probably maybe 100 feet high going upwards, and it's composed of a lot of shale. So you can see that this would be a very attractive place for people looking for fossils. And Matthew points out, and he goes, well, it's right over here is where we were. And you can see the remnants of what looks like maybe a little campfire. They didn't camp here, but maybe they made coffee, you know. But it looks like a nice spot.
And what kind of pathway have we been on? Is it
None.
2 ruts and grass?
Pretty much ruts and grass. If there's any ruts at all from maybe a wet day that they drove it.
So is there a clear path forward from here?
Not necessarily. And Matthew doesn't know because he didn't go past here.
Did he bring his fishing pole?
No, he didn't.
I stick my hand out the window, and over the noise of the engine, I'm telling those on the bed if they can hear me. That site 1.
Right. Now, if you pause the car there for a bit, Dr. Coopersmith and Dr. Hall, you can do a, let's see what we'll call it a paleontology roll.
I mean, this is exciting. That cliff, the face, the shale. This is exciting, man. I would want to get out and do some digging. I mean, that's what got me into paleontology.
Yeah, but let's find the doctor first before we start doing any digging.
Hey, Marcus, maybe just take a picture. It looks pretty nice.
Yeah, bad roll for me.
Yeah.
Okay, both of you bad roll?
I didn't roll. I'm insisting rather than stop that we press on.
Yeah, but you don't know where. I'm trying to give you a direction of which direction to go.
Oh, okay. I also have high geology, so.
Oh, well, geology. Roll a geology roll then.
A 09, so an extreme.
Okay. Well, you can tell from the lay of the land and the ridge here, and the fact that there are like a stand of trees there, that the most logical direction for you to go, you know, you're going to continue north, would be along this, you know, along the way the ridge turns over here. And it's very likely that they just moved on and against the same ridge, you know, to find another site.
Okay.
So it takes you another 10 minutes or so of driving before you begin to realize that you've come upon a clearing where there is a second site.
And I'll slow the vehicle down so we can take a look. And, you know, if I'll even stop, but I might leave the car running just so we can kind of look around and take in, you know, visually what's going on here and try to reassess where's the next dot in this series, you know, for Site 3.
And given that this is a 1910 truck on uneven terrain, probably one could walk at a crisp pace past it. So I'm going to, you know, also look around for any sort of muddy patch, former puddle, or something that might have tracks in it, and see if we can.
Okay, so you're going to stop and get out for a couple of minutes. Anyway.
Yeah, for a few minutes.
All right. So as you look out, one of the differences that you find is that the ridge here, although it still has a lot of the same shale, there is a large vein of quartzite that runs through it. You can see it glistening in the sun. It's really quite beautiful.
Wow, look at that.
Everybody do a spot hidden roll.
A 1.
Wow.
Right.
21, which is kind of a hard pass, too.
I have a standard success.
A 1 is an extreme.
And I rolled a 92, so I just put my own eye out of my camera.
One being an impale, does that mean he impaled his eye? Ow.
All right. So, Phillips, Byron, you're walking around, and you look down at the ground, and you notice a pick, geologist pick. It's maybe, it's only about that long, the sharp part of it. And it actually looks like it's in pretty good condition, but it's just lying there on the ground. Like somebody dropped it.
I'll pick it up and be like, "Hey, guys, there's a pick here. It's in pretty good condition, considering it seems like they've been out here doing stuff."
Does it have anybody's name or initials carved in it?
Yeah. Can I further look at it? Or?
It does. It has HB carved into the bottom of the handle. Looks like carved with a pocket knife. Very likely Henry Bates.
Henry Bates.
The guy who got his leg.
Right. Frozen burned. Freeze dried.
My self-proclaimed friend. It looks like it's Henry's. What the? Maybe this is where he had the accident?
Oh, well. Collect it, and we can return it to him.
Yeah, I'll put it in a bag.
All right, so consulting the map, we figure we should continue to follow the ridge.
Who else passed their spot hidden rolls?
I think most of us did.
Okay.
Only Marcus didn't.
Yeah, only Marcus failed.
Dr. Rathmore, as you're walking about, you're not particularly interested so much in paleontology end of this. You're looking at the hills and the lay of the land around you. And you suddenly notice way up on the ridge, but maybe about 2 miles distant, you can see that there are some people on horseback.
Oh.
And this is going partly back the direction that you came. And it just looks like they're up there on the ridge, and they are on horseback, and you can't tell. I mean, they're so small from 2 miles away, but you can definitely see them up there.
Are they within shouting distance from?
No, 2 miles.
So,
and you do know that on that ridge and farther in, that's the Indian reservation. The Native American reservation.
So I turn back to everybody and I say, there's some company out there, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's the natives.
Here's some binoculars. Check them out.
Take a closer look.
All right. The binoculars, you can see that there are 3 men, each on horseback. And although you can't really see their facial expressions, you can tell that they are Native Americans. Their complexion is darker than a Caucasian. And they do seem to be staring in your direction. They would have definitely seen the car go by, maybe even heard it from up on the ridge.
Well, and I'm holding binoculars and look at them like, we definitely have company, and they know that we are here.
Well, they're probably just curious about what's going on. We should continue on then, I think.
Yeah, leave them be. We're just wondering who we are. They've probably seen Baker's team, and then now we've seen another team, so they're probably just a bit puzzled with what's going on, maybe.
Based on what we learned about where the tribal lands are and Baker's hand-drawn map, they shouldn't overlap, right? That
Correct.
color, right? Because the native lands start on the other ridge or some
Right.
such. So we shouldn't be trespassing. That's the only reason I think they'd be angry.
Yeah, I don't think there's a matter of trespass. I think it's just a matter of things are happening near their territory, and they're just probably curious about the neighbors. So that's fine.
We should just move on. Keep going.
And as you're looking around, Marcus, you realize that there is an old riverbed, dry riverbed, that's running off toward, I'd say, to the northwest. So it's leading away from the ridge, but it's also probably the only solid direction you could go. It does look on the map like the trail leads away from the ridge at that point.
So it's a dry creek bed?
It's a dry river. If whoever has geology takes a look at it, they'll realize that it's an ancient riverbed.
Which makes sense for the direction that they would have gone, and I just made it.
And something made these cliffs, and shale is usually silt along waterways, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and there are probably fewer trees or none.
Young Matthews, did you follow them out this far?
No, sir.
Can we send Matthew home from here, or has he gone too far from home?
Well, that's a long walk.
No, we should have sent him home because we're kind of his responsibility, right?
Yeah,
his
he's
responsibility?
safest. He'll be safest with us.
Yeah.
We can take him back once we get to Dr.
All right. Once we have 3 vehicles, somebody should run him home.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
He's safe.
Matthew, have you seen the Indians on their horses up on the ridge before?
Oh, they're up there sometimes. Yeah, they sometimes come into town. One of the sheriff works with one of them. One of them's a deputy. That's you would know. Everybody knows everybody. That's Kanji Crow Smith, who's the deputy.
Well, there's not much left here, right?
Yeah, does it look safe for us to take the truck and keep following, or?
Yeah, it's going to be rough at this point because the river bed is kind of shaped like this. So,
okay.
It's a lot of loose, bumpy ground.
I'll do what I can to be as gentle as possible driving the truck and keep following on to Site 3.
A wooded meadow, or
it's getting denser as you're going, and from where you are, you're still high up a ways because you're near the ridge. But as you look sort of down into the valley that you're going into, you can see an area way off that's very wooded.
Yeah, that must be the hollow on his map.
That must be the hollow that he's talking about.
And except for finding the pick that was dropped, was there any other obvious dig site? Was there?
There was definitely places where they had been digging. Yes, you
right. Okay. There were some, but no obvious, no flags, no artifacts, just no signs of people.
They obviously
moving
picked
soil.
Everything up and moved. Right.
But what we see is them digging along this dried riverbed.
Well, you saw them at the beginning where you were at Site 2, but and you probably see some slight evidence of them driving along the riverbed, damaged, things.
Okay.
Byron, I would rather jog alongside the truck or walk past it than bounce around in the back of this. Do you want to come in and walk with me?
Yeah, honestly, I'd feel a bit safer walking. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna get out of the truck too. I don't feel like.
Okay.
Oh, the lighter it is, the easier going it'll be too.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Well, if you go by the map, Site 3 is going to be about 5 miles from here.
Oh, so we'll only walk for a bit, I guess.
Might walk for a bit, yeah.
Walk for a bit, jump back in the back, and then maybe walk for a little bit more.
All right. All right. So we'll say that you're walking. Say you walk for about an hour and the truck's moving rather slowly. Have you all do spot hiddens, the ones who are walking.
I did not make mine. Damn it.
37 is just under my
I got
40.
a 10.
Got a 10.
78.
Well, Byron, once again, sort of looking around, something catches your eye, and you look over. This is the riverbed that you're walking along, and you notice a dark rock about the size of your fist, and you realize that it's another coprolite. This one does not seem to have any markings on it, but it's definitely of the same material.
Wait, let me take a picture of it inside you before you move it.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay.
Okay.
Great.
It's once again, it's misshapen.
Yeah. Well, I will attempt to get it. I'll pick it up. Whatever.
Easy. Yeah, you just pick it up.
So that's an ancient poop. Older than the
Yeah,
hills.
basically.
I'll be.
Yeah,
And as you
older
hold it in your hand, you feel that it has that same odd coldness to it.
It's still.
And
it's
this
still
was
got that
lying there
hot.
in the sun.
It's still really
And it's
cold.
dark in color too. You'd
Yeah.
think it'd warm up.
Mm.
Although honestly, I'd rather pick up a fossilized poop that was cold than one that was warm.
We should put it somewhere safe.
Really? Is it really? Yeah, that is. It's
Yeah,
like
look, it's cold.
Well, and it's Marcus, do an idea roll.
reminds me of being in a cave. We have caves, not far from
Yes.
Cincinnati. 59 is the narrowest success.
Okay. It's different than what you'd expect. If you pick up a piece of ice, it's cold. In this case, when he hands you the rock feels like rock, and the longer you hold it, the colder it gets. It's actually getting to where it finally becomes, it takes a while, but it becomes uncomfortable, and you have to transfer it to your other hand.
Yeah, we should put it in a sack or something.
It's
And there's
a very
other
strange
dark,
effect.
there are other dark rocks around here.
There are.
And
yeah.
they're sun warmed on the top and they're cool on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And you can compare them.
Right,
That's
well-
the damnedest thing. Well, one of the profs will want to see it. And
Well,
maybe
if we put it in the back for now, somewhere safe, and then we can examine it more later.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it later. Let's get to Site 3, and then we can take a quick moment to take a look at that.
Right, we've been walking for another hour, so maybe we should get in the back as well for a bit.
Yep.
Just to rest our legs.
So everyone climb aboard, and I'll take us the rest of the way to Site 3.
All right. You get to Site 3 without much trouble. It becomes kind of obvious what you're looking for. Now, Site 3 is just a couple miles from where the hollow is. You can see the hollow sort of looms up in the distance. But it's still lower down because you're going down into a hollow. You can see more evidence that they've been here, places where they've dug, and so forth. You also find that you're getting a little peckish by this point. Not surprisingly, though, when you check your snacks, they're going bad. And you know they weren't bad when you left.
This is the damnedest thing.
What the hell?
I want to search through the food until I can find something that's edible to give to Matthew.
Okay.
Get him if we can get him fed first, then I'll worry about feeding myself.
All right. Do you guys stop at least at Site 3 for any length of time?
Yeah, that's my plan, is to stop the truck. We can eat. Maybe Professor Hall and I can take a look at that new coprolite and,
Okay.
We can figure out what food to throw out. Or
No, I
bury.
want to check.
We're
I wanna
not that
check
far
the
away
area.
from the doctor.
I'm sorry,
We're
what
not
was that,
far
Dr.
from
Hall?
Yeah, we're not that far from Dr. Baker's team. I'm of the urgency to find out what's going on with him. I mean, we've got these two young students that have been walking along beside the truck. Surely there were students out there on the dig that could have walked back into town. Something is going on.
The thing is, right, the food started spoiling here as far as we're aware. I just want to have a quick look around the area, see if I can see anything out of the ordinary, anything like that.
All right.
We'll be like, what, half an hour, an hour? It gives us enough time to get ourselves.
Also, Professor Hall, we only know that he'd gotten to the 4th spot when he left the map in his room, but he could be on to the 6th or 7th or 8th spot.
Yeah, they could
Because
be
he hasn't
anywhere.
been back to report. So we can't say it's only 20 minutes or an hour. We can just take care of ourselves and then go look for them.
Yeah.
And if the food's going this fast, I wonder if there's any honey that we brought.
No.
It's pity. Honey don't spoil.
All right. So
Oh.
you're looking around for at least a few minutes before you move on.
And I want to check out the new copper light.
Okay. Well, let's do that. You're looking around. You're Byron. You're looking around. Go ahead and do a spot hidden, but we'll do Dr. Cooper Smith. Right. So this second copper light is roughly the same size, similar in shape, but there's no carvings all over it. And it has the similar properties of being cold. It's you almost get the impression that it somehow is generating the cold, because it's not instant. It comes on slowly.
So I go to Dr. Cooper Smith and I say, like, hey, let's take a look at the other one. I presume we have the other one. I want to hold them next to each other.
Okay.
And see if that does anything. Like, I want to see, like, put them close together.
All right. As I say, they're similar in shape. Biologically, you'd guess that they probably came from the same kind of animal.
I want to take the little geological pick, the little hammer that we found, and take the new coprolite that we found that does not have markings on it, and I want to start chipping at it, see if I can crack it in half.
Mr. Cooper, before you make those actions, remember, this is Mr. Phillips' find, so get his permission first.
Byron, do you care about the fossilized poop?
I don't care. Go ahead.
All right.
I was going to suggest the same, but yes.
Tap, tap, tap,
Byron
tap,
found
tap.
it first.
All right. You start tapping at it, and you realize that it's pretty hard. You find yourself looking surprised at the others, and you're hitting it harder and harder, and finally, you hit it hard, and it fractures into 3 or 4 smaller pieces.
Okay.
But it's a good hard rock.
All right. Yeah. So now, I want to. I would assume I have my own, but if not, I want to borrow Phillips' field microscope and start examining.
Well, as you are bringing a piece up and you're about to put the thing, you're looking at the interior, and there are some odd, lustrous sort of formations in it. At first, you'd think it's the bone of some animal that was eaten, but these are particularly smooth and lustrous, fractured right where some of these are, and you think that maybe with like a pick or something, you might be able to pry them out and see what they are.
Yeah,
better.
We've got that pick. I want to try and wedge one out.
All right. So do a luck roll to see if you manage to dislodge one.
My luck is rubbish.
I got 41, by the way, on my spot hidden, but I'd spend 1 luck to succeed it.
I rolled an Uno.
Oh no.
I rolled a 1.
You've positioned yourself. Some people, the others are kind of watching what you're doing, and you're picking at this. All of a sudden, this lustrous thing pops out, and it comes over you in kind of a wave, but it's a human tooth. Sanity rolls for everybody.
That was unsurprising. I failed horribly.
Success.
If you succeeded, you're still horribly shocked. If you failed, take a couple of points damage.
Now, Professor, this is a poop that's so old that it's turned to rock. But that's a human tooth inside. Like the tooth fairy was a dinosaur. I mean, there aren't any fossilized humans, right?
Right. Humans, man and dinosaur did not coexist. They were separated by millions of years.
Mr. Rathmore, can you tell how old this tooth is?
Let me take a look into it. Can I take a look?
I think that's a little harder to determine without some sort of like microscopic. I don't know. Teeth are kind of different than.
Maybe you could, I heard that archaeologists will use a taste test. Maybe you should lick it and see how it is.
Lick the poop.
Or the tooth.
Well, there's evidence that there are more of them in that piece of poop. But I would say that based on the wear, and it couldn't be that old.
Wait, I want to look at it from a standpoint of, I want to look at the tooth. How old is this tooth? Does it look pretty fresh? Is it pretty like?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It couldn't be more than a few hundred years old at the most. It's really hard to tell because teeth look really good even after 1,000 years.
The math does not make sense. This is bizarre.
I'm confused right now.
Doctors Cooper Smith and Hall. How many ways are there to turn something into stone? There must be different ways, right? Like sometimes if it's in the water, or sometimes if it's in a cave, or sometimes if it's in a bog. Aren't there different?
Yeah, but it's still time and pressure.
Right. And minerals
what
replace.
Right. Oh, right. Because you have a cavity that gets filled.
And this is not. Yep. It's not mineralized. It's
the tooth.
It's a tooth.
The tooth is from a different time.
Well,
there must have been some ancient creature that had teeth that looked like a human tooth.
Again, if the bone that Mr. Phillips found in the first coprolite was only a couple of hundred years old, then that's suggesting there's a dinosaur out there that's only a couple of hundred years old, again, with the time of man. So it makes sense that if such a thing is possible to be roaming the land, eating humans is not unthinkable.
But even if it did, the poop couldn't turn into stone.
Correct.
I agree.
So,
not in a short period like this.
Yeah, this is a weird. This is an unexplainable box where something newer is inside something that's far older. It's very strange.
Well, not to mention the fact that you've got coprolite that's turning cold in our hands. So this is not normal coprolite.
We didn't see any evidence for that once we cracked it open, right?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Did we discover any evidence or source for the unnatural cold?
No.
Once it's been cracked open.
But the pieces remain the same. They remain cold.
What did I see with my
Okay.
spot hidden? Because I did succeed.
You succeeded. You find another one, another copper
Okay.
light.
Oh, God.
And this one is partly decorated. It has that odd symbol on the side of it,
But not the maze.
but not the full complete.
Dr. Coopersmith?
It
Found
also
another one.
looks. It also looks, when you find it, like it had recently clashed up against another rock nearby, like somebody had thrown the rock.
It looks like someone maybe got a bit angry or something through it.
There's a
I
mark
don't know.
on the rock.
It's a bit scuffed. Honestly,
Are you
someone
sure
take
you're
this?
not a paleontologist? You seem to be finding a lot of fossils.
It helps not to be in the truck.
Yeah, I've got young eyes. I can see. Anyway, take it off me. I'm still a bit shook about that teeth thing. Honestly.
Yeah, let's store everything back in the truck. And
It's got to be some other animal tooth. I mean, there have to
that's
be.
the only explanation.
There were hyenas, and I don't know.
It's probably from a bear. Who knows?
From bear.
The first chance we get, Doctor, let's drop the formalities. Harold, the first opportunity you get, if you can indeed confirm what species, if we think this is a human bone, if you can verify it when we get to hopefully Dr. Baker's site, this is strange.
Yeah, and I also think that we need to kind of we have to proceed with caution. You know, if there's many of these here, I'm presuming now. I got a bad feeling, or I got a sick feeling in my gut that Dr. Baker and his team has run into trouble. We're seeing a lot of this stuff. You know, we have. You know, there's no signs of them, right? We're getting more of this copper light. Let's proceed a little bit further and let's see what we can actually find out. But let's actually be on our guard a little bit here.
What percentage of our food is spoiled?
Probably
Or
about
how,
50.
or
about
how hard
50%.
is it to cobble together a quick meal for Matthew and the rest of us?
It's going to be dry, whatever it is that you pull together.
The peanut butter go bad?
I'm not sure they would have peanut butter, but
I asked Mom for peanut butter last week.
And she has peanut butter.
It was
Peanut
from the
butter's
18th century.
Peanut butter is pretty damn stable. You keep smelling the peanut butter, and you're not sure, but you're
Hungry.
smells okay.
Yes.
So we're basically eating hardtack
Yeah,
and stuff. So
and even that, you're not sure whether the flavor is gone a little bit. It's just now you're kind of paranoid about it.
So even with a fire, it's going to take us a little while to cobble together a meal, and then we're going to want to rush on.
Right.
I think that's the general feeling.
I think we can do without a meal. I think we need to press on and find the other team.
Well, we got a young kid here. We need to give him something.
He's been snacking out of the snack bag, and James has found the good stuff for him. So there's more urgency. We need to press on.
Yeah, but we don't even know how far they got. Surely we can spare like half an hour.
Farther than this. Let's get to what we think is the site 4, and then if we don't find it from there, we can break for the meal.
Okay. So
All right, let's push on.
At this point, you realize that you're kind of flying blind. You know that they were going to head into the hollow, and you can see that now the hollow is maybe half a mile ahead of you. And there seems to be some sort of natural areas where it looks like if I was going to go in, that's where I would go in. Okay. And as you're driving, suddenly from the side, out from behind some trees, come 3 horses with riders on the back. And they're obviously trying to get your attention, and they stop their horses.
I stopped the truck.
All right.
What the hell?
and they're Native Americans.
And they're coming from the Hollow?
No, they were coming from they were coming from probably the ridge, and they headed you off.
Okay.
Yep. So I'll stop the vehicle and get out and greet them.
Okay. They don't get off their horses. They stay on their horses.
So I have an idea. I'd go quickly to whoever has the intact copper light with the actual marking, and I want to go up to one of the Native Americans with it.
All right. These men are old. They look like they're, probably in their 60s. Okay.
So I want to go up to one of the older gentlemen, and say, how, greet, and say, we're here and we're looking for Dr. Baker. Are you aware of the expedition that's been out here? Try to kind of converse initially.
And they sit there and they stare at you for a few moments. And the one who looks like he's possibly the youngest one, they're still all old, he says, we tell your friends not to go into Shichahalo. Do not go into Shichahalo.
What is in Shichahalo?
Shichahalo is bad.
But we think our friends are in there. We're looking for them, and if they need help, we want to help them and bring them home.
Are they speaking in basically broken English? Because Harold had spoken to them in Crete, is what I heard.
Right. It's broken English.
Okay.
Did
you see them go into the Hollow?
We tell them not to go.
But did you see them go inside?
We do not go into Shichahalo.
But
you should not go into Shichahalo. And they turn their horses and start to ride away. They don't seem to want to converse very much with you.
What's in there?
I do want to ask them before they kind of turn. I have the copper light in my hand. I wanted to show that to them and say.
Well, they'll say you held it up and you were showing it. They didn't even seem to pay any attention.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, why don't we'll drive slowly and keep our eyes open for animals.
Okay.
Well, my suggestion is at this point, let's everybody get back into the truck. If we're going to go into Shisha Hollow, let's everyone get in the truck. Nobody's walking at this point. We stay in, and we actually stay very much on our guard. If that's what we're deciding to go in.
Sure.
All right.
I'm going to get.
All they did was intrigued me more than anything else.
So
I'm gonna pull out my revolver in the back, and I'm gonna sit back there.
Whoa! In the back. Whoa! Put that away, Professor Rathmore, please.
No. This is for protection. Don't worry. I've got everyone covered back here.
And Professor, even as you feel like we're safer on the vehicle, I feel like I'm safer on foot.
Yeah,
be my guest.
I'm stick with you, Marcus. If we're on, don't trust.
I mean, going into these woods, there could be as simple as a sharp rock and a shallow pool.
So, gentlemen,
stuck.
Dr. Baker's team had two vehicles. Do we see a gap in the tree line that the trucks could have gone? Is there?
Well, they wouldn't have to drive side by side.
No, but that's what I'm saying. They would have.
Yeah, you've headed kind of towards where you think that would be the logical place.
Yeah, so I'll go in the same direction where I think a vehicle would enter in, and but I'm going to drive slow. So I'm not looking for making up any speed. Just careful, slow rolling.
Well, as you side mirror to watch for the Indians and see what they're doing.
All right.
Well, I'm going to tell the two students here. I mean, like, if you want to walk on foot and something goes awry, you better quickly get back into this truck. I'm just telling you right now. I don't know how much experience you have out in the woods or out in these kind of things, but things can go pretty south pretty quickly.
We're walking because I'd rather be walking where there's not a gun on the back of a truck than with sat in the back of a truck with someone holding a gun. Honestly.
I didn't have any trouble with your revolver, Professor Rathmore, but I just feel like I've got a lot more flexibility on foot. I mean, I'm not going to go into any swamp or anything, and if I see a snake, you can bet I'll be back in the truck before you know it. But you know, I can turn left whenever I want, and the truck will just get stuck against a tree.
Marcus got a point.
So,
All right, let's just keep going.
yep.
All right. So as you approach the edge of Shicha Hollow, the road itself, well, the area that you're on kind of an embankment, and it drops down maybe 3 feet, not too sharply. You can still manage it, but it's pretty close. You can hear the bottom of your car sort of scraping a little bit, and your truck, and you can see that the hollow itself is literally that. It's a place in the land that's deeper. It's very lush, lots of trees, lots of scrub bushes. You can definitely see some evidence where some smaller bushes have been crushed down, which means probably the trucks went this way. But now the ground is becoming like this as you go. There are rocks, there are rivulets of water, there are trees. You're not going in a straight line anymore. You're having to kind of wend your way into it. And once you are in maybe 150 feet, you can't really see back out again. I mean, you can, but you can't. You're deep in. But there doesn't seem to be much more of a way to go than the way you're going. Do a drive roll, whoever is driving.
I am driving, and I have pretty good drive. I will spend the 8 luck points to make that a standard success.
Okay. So there's a moment when your wheel sort of gets stuck between 2 rocks, but you manage to get the car to push itself up and over and continue on the way.
You know, Byron, we're going to be prying this truck out of a stream any minute with an old rotten log.
Yeah, definitely. But
all right.
Man.
And as you eventually, you've gotten in pretty deep, that the light level has dropped. The trees are fairly dense. Most of the leaves are in the stages of changing colors. So there's some green, but there's a lot of red and orange and yellow. It's actually quite beautiful where you are. The trees are all twisted and gnarly, which makes traveling a little more difficult. But you break out into a clearing, and this time you can definitely see more than just simple evidence that this was Site 4, because there are 2 cars, 2 vehicles, 2 trucks parked to one side of this clearing. There is evidence that there was a campfire and possibly some areas, well, you can't really see it. You have to stop and get out of the...
Yeah, I'll pull the truck up and park it near the other 2, and we all start getting out.
All right.
Dr. Baker!
And this is a little meadow? This is
James,
just sort of clearing?
It's a little bit of a clearing, yeah.
And is there running water right here?
There is nothing directly here, but there is still parts of that old riverbed and evidence that looks like they were digging here. Actually, it looks like their diggings here were a little more extensive than they were at the previous sites.
Yeah, let's try that horn.
I'm laying on the horn.
Okay. You horn 2 or 3 horn honks, nothing. You don't hear anything.
I want to get out of the back of this truck, and I want to get in, and I want to start looking at inside the other trucks, at least one first.
Okay.
And I'm going to go over to the tents and campsites.
I just want to search the area.
Well,
Right.
The tents
It's all
and
split up.
campsites, there are no tents, but there's definitely some spots where you can tell that the tents were, where they sort of cleared the rocks from the ground and sort of smoothed it out. However, you do find a few pieces of equipment that are a little bit on the heavy side. And you do find a couple of tents in the back of one of the trucks that are folded up. But they're big tents, so they're heavy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're multi-person canvas tents with wooden struts and all
Right.
that sort of business.
You look inside the cabs of the trucks, and they seem fine. They seem like they're clean. It almost seems like they've been abandoned.
Right.
Huh. I want to check the dig sites. I want to extensively examine those dig sites.
Yeah, that's kind of
Right.
what I was planning on doing with searching around.
All right. It looks like that they may have had some success. There's definitely some places where they've excavated, and they've done a fairly decent job of doing it. They've marked it out, probably so that they could replicate it on paper, you know, like a grid pattern, what they were doing. And you don't know whether they were successful or not in finding stuff, but with the amount of digging, it seems like they found something.
I'm going to, I wasn't there yet, so I'm going to go to the trucks that these guys have left.
Okay.
And I want to search the glove box and the visor to see if anybody left a note. They knew that we were supposed to be coming. They would have, should have left something to tell us that they were forging on someplace else.
All right. Do a luck roll.
Regular. I
Okay.
could make it hard if need be.
No. But you pretty much go through everything you can think of, including under the seats. You don't find any note.
I'd like to look at the farther edge of the meadow for indications of somebody pressing onward, boot prints or a
All right.
further dig.
Do a spot hidden for me.
I'll spend 3 for sure
Okay.
to make that a success.
All right.
Gonna-
You're looking around, and what you find is heading northwest, more like northwest or west northwest. You can find a place at the edge of the clearing where it's obviously the cars have pressed in there. The bushes are knocked down. There's rocks that have been rolled out of the way. But maybe 15 feet in, there was just no way for the cars to continue. Then there's evidence that probably they were backed out and put where they were. And they obviously wanted to go in that direction, but they don't.
Yeah. Is that consistent with the stream bed?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
The stream bed runs kind of perpendicular to the direction they seem to be wanting to go.
All right. I'm going to go back to Cooper Smith, Hall, and Rathmore and say, I think I know which direction they were trying to head, but the trucks couldn't go any further. I think at least a couple of us should head that way.
I want to turn to the boy, Matthew, and at this point ask him, does this look any familiar? Did you ever come out this far?
I've never been out here, no, sir. And you know what, folks? I'm going to have to go to school tomorrow.
Maybe.
Well,
Maybe one of us should take him back into town.
I can drive him back, and then I know where this is, so I can drive right back.
All right.
So
I would say at least 2 of you should go, just to make it easier to
I
come
agree.
back.
Marcus, you did make the suggestions of your desire to eat. So because the baker's team's not here, we can go ahead and pull out the food, at least give Matthew one good meal before we haul him back to town.
Well,
Like
that
you said,
proves
at
to
least
be
2.
that proves to be harder than you think, because the food's more spoiled now than it was before.
He's going to have a better meal in town than he is with us, I think.
You'll have a better meal in hell.
Dr. Cooper Smith, I think we should just get him back. I can go with you if you want as well.
Yeah, jump in. Let's take him back.
So I tell Dr. Cooper Smith, like, do you want to take your car, or we got these other 2 cars here? What do you think? I'm presuming that these cars are better condition. Is there a way we can look at the cars?
Sure.
That's
I mean,
worth
they're
checking
open.
out. Yeah.
Good idea, Harold.
Nobody takes their keys out of their car in the country.
So we do.
And
We take a quick.
maybe.
Can we take a quick once over on all the cars and figure out which one, which one's the best one it's in the best running condition?
There's no need to do a roll. You have the keys in both cars. When you try to turn them over, nothing happens.
Hmm.
They don't even click.
And we use my vehicle. All right, so I jump in.
Well,
But,
wait,
yeah,
shouldn't we
it
try
could
to
be just the
jumpstart
battery?
Yeah, exactly. Let's take a look at this real quick.
I'll have a quick look at them.
You've got mechanics, right?
Yeah,
Byron?
Yeah.
Why don't you take a look at the engines?
Mechanical repair, yeah.
Yeah, I've got a smidge too. I mean, we don't want to be 3 cars with people in one car.
All right, so Marcus and Byron, you lift the hoods and you start to look underneath. Dr. Cooper Smith, Dr. Rathmore, and Dr. Hall do spot hidden rolls.
Yes, 39. Standard.
Standard success.
Okay. The 2 of you are standing in different spots, but nearby. And as you're standing there, you notice something that doesn't look like a stick in amongst the bushes. And let's say almost simultaneously as the 2 boys look under the hood, you reach down and come up with a handful of wires. And the boys realize that the electrical and all of that has been ripped out of the car.
What the fuck?
Not like it's been dismantled, it's been ripped out.
Sabotage.
The fuck?
Yeah, well, this is
So much for your peaceful Indians.
or something.
Well, let's not jump to any conclusions, but I will say this much. This is starting to get more dangerous. Let's get Matthew back into town.
Yep. So
Yeah.
Byron and I will drive him back.
You 3 stay here because you can set up something. As long as you stick together, you should be all right. As long as you stay.
So let's figure out, barring the stops that we made, how long did it take us to get here so we can estimate your time of return there, back, and a few minutes to turn Matthew back over to his parents?
I'm going to say that it's going to take them just about an hour to get back and to get there and then him come back because he knows where he's going now. And you guys were driving slow.
You're saying 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back, hour round trip, or is it hour?
We're only talking 14 miles.
Okay. So, all right.
And then you guys have got a Big 10, but you probably won't even need to put it up if we're only going to be about an hour. So.
Well, the Big 10's in the truck. Yeah, the other trucks.
Oh, yeah. I do mention something to Dr. Cooper Smith and Byron, if you're both going. If you're going back, we're going to be here. We're going to just kind of take a look at the area. Please bring back some food.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, I think maybe canned goods might be safer. Whatever is contaminating stuff probably can't get through steel.
Yeah, we'll look into some.
And sugar candy is pretty safe. I know keep you alive.
Will we be able Would we be able to? Sorry, would we also be able to see what? The wires are ripped out. Is there any possibility of actually replacing that?
Not unless you knew how to build an engine.
Okay, it's pretty.
The wires
severe.
they're not just removed; they're
It
torn
looks
up.
like somebody grabbed a
They've
hold of the
been-
wires and yanked them out and then threw them everywhere.
Yeah, it's a good thing we got one working truck. I wonder, Professor Rathmore, if you shouldn't go since you're armed, in case it was hostile activity.
No. He
He
should
should
stay with you two.
Protect the camp. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
This
We're
we're
going to
gonna-
be mobile.
All right. So you're going to take Matthew home, bring us back some food in a bit. What should we put up a tent first, start a fire first, or go looking for the rest of the team first?
Let's
should-
stay here and wait for their return.
Just
Wait,
make a
so-
fire, maybe rest.
Yeah.
Let's not make a fire because that might draw attention depending on what's going on. 'Cause we don't know what's just happening here. But
We've
let's just
already-
hold.
We've been
Let's just
hostile
hold for it.
making noise, so
Well, the temperature will drop tonight. I mean, it'll drop to an uncomfortable level, but not a deadly level.
what
All
time
right.
it is right now?
I'm sorry, what time is
What
it?
time? Yeah.
We'll say it's about 1 o'clock.
Okay.
So,
All right,
tent
so we
first?
hurry. We hurry
Yeah,
with
we will.
with Matthew so we can get back.
Thanks, Matthew. Tell Mama Penman to give us some biscuits or something.
All right.
So we haul
Um,
ass.
All right. So your trip there and back takes about an hour. It's uneventful, and Ma gives you some canned goods that you can open, some chili, whatever, that sort of stuff.
Beans,
Bring
yeah.
back, and a can opener.
Yep.
So you're on your way back at this point. The other three, what are you doing in the camp? There's more evidence in the cars that they've been damaged. But do an intelligence roll.
Who? All of us?
The people who are looking at the car.
Yeah,
I made it by 2 points.
I'm off to the dig site looking to see
Yeah.
what Pete Baker's interest to forge into the hollow. So I'm not at the truck.
All right.
I'm in the truck and I made my roll.
So Marcus and Harold, you're looking at the truck and you're realizing that the wires have been ripped out and all that. There's other damage too. Things have been damaged inside there. There's sticks that have been. It's like they had tried to jam the stick in there and maybe bend things, which really resulted more in the stick just getting broken off and stuck in there.
Wait, so you're saying there's snapped off wooden sticks in the engine?
Yeah, you find that in there too. What starts to slowly dawn on you is that it looks like somebody was definitely trying to sabotage the trucks, but they didn't have a clue of what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
The wires would have been the obvious thing just to grab and yank out, but it looks like they tried to hit some things.
Are the sticks green or dry?
They're dry.
Do they have, what are their ends like?
They're just sticks, like somebody picked
Just
them up.
broken
the
off
ground.
pieces of, right. Is there anything like a blood stain anywhere
Yeah. No.
that a human being looked like that might have been injured? Okay.
No.
Yeah, it's like sabotage by savages. And where is everybody? I mean, it's a fairly large complement of human beings to leave their vehicles and walk off into the woods. I'd like to organize things around shelter and safety, and then exploration. So we put up a tent, we set up a fire to light when it gets dark, and then we head off into the woods. Those are
We're
my.
not going anywhere till they return.
Well, you might not be, Professor. I apologize.
I'm responsible for you, along with the rest of the team. So we will wait for the return of the others before we start splitting up.
Well, I've also.
Let's
I was just going to say, I want to remind you that these are the kind of woods you could easily get lost in, because 100 feet away and you might not remember which way.
Yeah, even I would say that, like, at this point, it's better to travel in numbers than to go off at this point, because, we just don't know. At the end of the day, I've done many of these kind of digs before, and there's trouble. And when you don't know your terrain, and we don't know this terrain, it's better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah. So I'm like I said, I'm going to investigate the dig area. Marcus.
But you're going to investigate? Help us put up a tent so we have someplace to stay tonight, because we're stranded out here.
Again, you were spending times over in the truck. I'm just using the same amount of time over at the dig site. So by the time this conversation is going on, I've already accomplished that look.
All right.
And then we'll get together.
Dr. Hall, do a spot hidden roll.
Hard.
All right. So as you're kind of in their dig where they were working, and you can see that there's a couple of areas where they were digging things in the same spots. So they may have found something, and then they were looking for collateral bones nearby. And as you are looking around in here, you realize that they missed one. That there's the surface of bone protruding from one of the sides of their dig, and with very little effort, you manage to break loose the loose soil and so forth, and you pull out what looks like, it looks like an arm bone. That would be your best guess. Not very large, but comparable to something like you would find in your forearm, but not human. It's definitely some sort of a dinosaur, but also it's not fossilized. It looks like something that might be, well, you could do a paleontology roll, but I think that you would probably immediately know that it looks like something that you would call a Coeliosaurus, a particular kind of armored dinosaur.
Okay. I'm not going to spend much time on this. All I was initially doing was just that superficial look to see what they've exposed. And then from there, as long as the guys are still in the truck, then I will continue looking. And that's probably when I pulled out this particular bone. But now that I found it, I will mention it to the others as they're probably now coming out of the truck.
Right.
Okay.
Now at this point, only about 20 minutes have gone by since Dr. Cooper Smith left. Okay. You're looking at the truck, they've driven off, you're looking at the truck, you've looked at the bones. The three of you do spot hidden rolls. I want to know who gets the highest roll.
The highest, or okay, the highest?
Yeah. Well, the best. We'll say the best roll. The lowest roll.
I got a 7, so that is an extreme.
And I failed by 8 points.
Okay.
So
A hard.
All right. So, Dr. Rathmore, you're in the cab. You're climbing out, and over the other two shoulders, sort of off in the woods, you can see there's somebody coming in your direction, and the first thing you think is American Indian, but very quickly you dismiss that. It's a woman. She looks like she's maybe in her 40s. She has her hair in braids, and she's a white woman, Caucasian, and she's dressed in, sort of like people would wear in the mountains, like plaid and so forth, and blue jeans. And she sees you, and she's like, "Ho, folks, how you doing?" She's walking out of the woods.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I quickly grab everyone's attention behind me or around me, and I point out in front. Hello.
Howdy. Heard you honking your horn. Are you all okay?
Yeah, we're okay. Who are you?
Oh, you can call me Jane.
Jane, what are you doing out here? Where did you come from?
Oh, I live here. I live out here. Lived out here for years and years. She says, where's your friends?
That's exactly what we're wondering. Do you happen to know when the last time, have you seen them recently?
Well, I saw them a while back. I was over yonder collecting mushrooms for the stew, and I wandered on over here to see who these here people were. It was apparently my bone collectors, scientists from a big old school up, not really sure where. I think they said Cincinnati.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So Dr. Baker, he called himself, was one of them.
Yeah, there was a baker. And so you saw them, what, a week ago?
Friendly enough. Yeah, they was nice. Showed me around.
Somebody seems to have wrecked their trucks, and we came out to look for them, and they're missing.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah. I'm a little worried about them because it's been a little while.
Well, when I was here, they was digging for bones, you know.
Yeah.
And don't know quite what the use of bones is for, except that, you know, sometimes you put them in soup to make them taste better. But they said these was really old bones, and can't see no use for old bones. I told them that, you know, you can find a lot of old bones out here in the woods. I told them there's an old mining town across the holler, that there's bones all over the place if they was interested.
How far away is that? How far away is that place?
Oh, it's a few miles.
Inside
west
the
of
hollow?
here.
Oh.
Yeah, on the other side. Yeah, you got to cross the hollow to get there. Sheetcha Hollow, the Indians call it.
You live out here with your brothers and paws?
No, I live out here all by myself.
Oh.
I lived out here my whole life.
Why do you?
We don't care much for. I don't care much for the townsfolk.
But you're not a native woman yourself?
No. I'm not one of them Indians. No.
Do you know what Shicha means?
Shicha means evil, bad place. They say there's ghosts that live in these woods, that the spirits of the dead are trapped here, and that they fuss about people when they hang about here. But I done lived here my whole life, and no ghosts ever fussed around me. They say the rivers run with blood. It's all just nonsense. But I never see any Indians come in this area. They just leave us all alone. Leave me alone.
And white folk do too, except for Professor Baker and company.
Yeah, there's the first people I have seen out here in forever.
How are you doing for food?
Oh, I do my own hunting, and I do my own, you know, picking the herbs. Like I say, I was getting some mushrooms. I do pretty well.
Well, we've noticed a lot of food spoilage. I'm just wondering if you're dealing with the same out here.
No, never had no food spoilage. No.
So you must know these lands so well. You could probably show us exactly where our friends got lost. I think they tried to go down this holler in the cars and couldn't do it.
That would be in the direction of the old mining town. Yes.
Did you accompany them at all, or did you just show them the
I showed Dr. Baker. I took see Dr. Baker and that other one, the funny one, Dr.
Butcher?
Tucker, yep.
Yeah, I showed him where it was, walked him out there, told him what I'm telling you now. But
So the whole team went out there?
well, I suppose so, if they're not here. I told him there was he showed me the skull of one of these things that he had found. He'd have dug up. I wasn't surprised at all. I said I've seen things like that before, though, out there in the mining town. So maybe he moved there to find bones that he doesn't have to dig up, because way easier than digging.
Were your folks with the mining town? Is that how you come to live out here?
Oh, I suppose at some point in time maybe they was, but that was a long time ago.
Well, if you could point us the direction you sent them, I'd be very grateful.
Well, you done pointed it out yourself. It's right there. Just got to go through, but you ain't going to get them vehicles through.
Right.
Yeah, we saw where they tried and obviously had to back up and park the trucks. So when you walked them out there, how long of a walk was it?
Oh, I don't know, a couple of hours. They
Oh,
seemed
wow.
very excited. Mr. Baker, now Dr. Baker, he seemed like a right gentleman, very friendly. And that Tucker, he's got a funny streak in him.
Yeah, that's good old John.
And you haven't heard anything from them since then. You didn't hear any. They didn't honk any horns or holler or light any fires. You saw.
Not a thing.
It's just been quiet.
And I wouldn't have even come out this way again today if it hadn't been for you all honking your horn.
Right,
So
and the mushrooms be in the right place.
Have the Indians ever, Native Americans ever come into the Hollow?
Nope, not that I can ever remember.
We're just wondering who damaged these vehicles over here, pulled out all the wires and tried to do even more damage.
I can't say. Have no idea. Now, if you
Not that
folks...
I have much, but I'm going to try a psychology roll.
Yeah, I want to try a psychology roll just to like observation.
I'm actually going to spend 6 luck to just get a regular.
Okay.
All right, if you've already done it, that's fine. Go for it.
Well, Dr. Hall, her mannerisms and her way of speaking, she's definitely a hill person, if you call it
Right.
that. She doesn't seem to have much of an education. There's definitely something
Wrong.
that she's not saying, but you don't know what it is. She
Right.
might just be distrustful of strangers.
Right. I was just looking to see if she had reacted when I mentioned her parents and brothers out here, and trying to get a tell of if there is more than just her.
Right.
So
Yeah. Didn't seem to have any reaction. She seems like she's alone. And like
And
I
you said she was wearing appropriate forest garb.
Yeah, but it's not new.
But she's not dressed like Davy Crockett. She's not wearing only furs. She has some
correct
commerce with humankind.
It does look like she's picked up a few pieces of clothing now and then. Maybe she goes in once in a blue moon, but she doesn't say that. Now, folks, I didn't expect to see you out here. I was here to render aid if you needed it, but I am going to have to be getting back. I got food cooking on the stove.
whereabout might you live?
I live about 3 miles in that direction. She just sort of gives you a direction.
Okay.
She says, but it's pretty hard to find unless you know where it is. There ain't no roads.
It must be real lonesome out here at times.
I don't know. I don't really know what lonesome is. I'm actually feeling like it's rather crowded right now.
Well, we're sorry. We hope to be out of your way right soon. Do you ever have a photograph taken of you.
I don't even know what that is.
It's a way to use. There's a machine that you can use to take up, just like capture the light of some picture all at once. And if you don't mind, I would take a picture of you because
I don't rightly care. It's not going to hurt me or anything, is it?
not a bit, man. It's just a way of marking something that's been that you can keep after a while. So you think if we head down there through the gap where they got stuck, we'll be able to tell where they were trying to go?
Oh, I think so. If you head in that direction, you'll eventually get there. Eventually, you'll hit the other ridge.
Right. And you say there were miners out there in the past?
Oh, quite a long time ago.
But they left.
There's an old abandoned town.
A whole town?
A small town.
And you say there are skulls and bones just out in the open?
Yeah, I've seen them.
I
don't go there much.
Hey, Jane, do you think we can trade you something for some of those mushrooms and food that you've collected?
Well, are you going to be here tonight?
We will.
I can bring you over some stew.
Oh, that'd be very kind of you. We asked the fellows going back to town to bring us back some fresh food, too. So there might be something.
Maybe we can share with you.
All right. Well, I will come back later then.
A pleasure to meet you, Miss Jane.
Thank you.
Glad we caught your attention.
And she heads off into the woods. And with that, I think that's where we'll end it. Perhaps just as, 40 minutes later when Dr. Cooper and Byron pull back into the camp.
You mean they made it back?
Hopefully with like a full arsenal of weapons, like Terminator.
And really, really protected food. Irradiated foodstuffs.
All right. Our players included John Hook, Bill Riggle, Josh Harwood, David Gasway, and Harish Rowe, with yours truly as the keeper of the secrets. We're currently producing up to 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production in order to create a richer listener experience. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. The costs involved with the show are provided almost entirely by our patrons. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. If you'd like to support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 or $2 a month helps us a lot. You can find a link in the description below. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch that bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answering any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.